Bopro here, creator of Links. Running a little bit behind today, so a little bit of a 10-minute delay. Thanks for joining. We're working on some international shipping stuff, and not only for previous shipments, but for the upcoming Kickstarter. And that took a little bit of priority. So thanks, Jonas, for helping out with that as well. It's one of our international shipments that's been unfortunately seeing some delays due to COVID. So doing our best to make sure that every package of links gets delivered, and also that you're well communicated to about what the process is. Hey Lee, thanks for joining. I think Lee, you're also international and had your package in delay as well. I'll actually follow up with you perhaps here, but we wanted to make sure that yours shows has arrived, so I want to make sure that it did land. Hey Mike, thanks for joining. So today for our stream, my thought was that, we've played through the games. Last week, Jamie and I played with the Go Bigger set, and I think for Thursday this week, we'll do something kind of special for before our Kickstarter ends. And we're going to continue these. I think it's just been a really nice opportunity to connect and field questions. A week and a half ago, I shared some of the packaging process. I think there's a lot more also in the design process and thinking about. I think there were some questions raised around kind of the next features for Blinks. And I figured today on our live stream, I wanted to share something you can do with the developer kit. Well, first, something you can do without a developer kit that's pretty based on exploration with Blinks. We've found actually that a number of people have discovered how Blinks interact with each other on their own, simply by taking different games and putting them together. So I wanted to share that. And then I figured the next thing I would show is that not only can you have different games interact in unexpected ways, but if you have a developer kit, you can alter the code of a game and start to introduce new aspects of a game. I think growing up for me, one of the coolest things for my Nintendo was that I had a Game Genie. And before I had a Game Genie, a friend had a Game Genie, and we'd always, always be like, oh man, we got to go over to that kid's house. Because you wanted to see kind of how can you bend this game or change it, or play it maybe in an easier mode, or play it in a more difficult or more extravagant way. So I'm not exactly sure how this is going to go, but let me start with sort of game bending here. And so let me go ahead and switch our scene. Cool. And so if you're joining us for the first time, these are Blinks, and they're the world's first smart tabletop game pieces, and they respond to touch, and they communicate with each other. And each one of these are actually ones with the labels for the new games. So Reactor, Dark Ball, Pirates and Lasers, Paintbrush, and Raid. And these games are up on Kickstarter right now, Group Therapy. So let's see. So those are the new games, but I'm actually going to show for bending of games some ones that we found with old games. So let's see what I've got here. I think one of the most common ones that we've seen is mixing. So here's a Zenflow Blink. So we'll take a Zenflow Blink. Oh, and Lee, thanks for confirming that the package arrived. That's, yeah, super helpful. All right, so I've got my 18 Blinks here. You can tell which game we were playing last. And so I'm going to load up Honey on these ones. And then I'm going to load Zenflow on these ones. And so this is kind of not by design. So when we wrote these games, they were designed to interact with their own kind of pieces. So when you're playing Honey, you would interact with Honey blinks. And when you're playing Zenflow, you'd interact with Zenflow blinks. In this case, some of our users have figured out, well, they actually interact interestingly with each other. So here in Honey, you can see, let's see, each of the pieces are bees collecting pollen, and so I can tap them up to create some worker bees. So let's create 2 worker bees here. And actually, we'll see if we need this, but normally the way you'd play this game is you'll create worker bees, they'll collect pollen, the worker bees will eventually, you can evolve them into broods, so we'll do that on this one. So let's go ahead and, so here we have a brood connected to a worker bee surrounded by pollen, and we can, let's see. So, this is effectively a hive, and we're going to see the pollen gathered, turned into honey, and then handed off to the brood. These ones aren't really doing anything over here. The goal of the game in Honey is to create a hive that eventually celebrates once the queen receives her royal jelly. And so, oh cool, I can evolve these. So I'm going to evolve that into a worker bee, this one into a brood, and that one into a queen. And so now we have this queen. Let's see. Yeah, that seems pretty reasonable. And then we'll turn these into workers. We'll just speed up these guys. All right. So here I've got kind of this interesting shaped hive. And normally to get the queen to have the whole hive celebrate, we'd have to have them all bring her royal jelly and fill up this blink with 6. You can see there's only 1 there. But if I attach Zenflow, you'll notice that all of the bees celebrated. And the cool thing that I really liked here is, so on yellow, not celebrating, green, not celebrating, and one of our users noticed this. So if you trigger blue, it triggers celebration. And so a Zenflow of blue has everybody celebrate. And red doesn't seem to do anything. Orange is another one. And so I should also note there's a little bit of a spoiler alert. But I think this is really cool because there's things that I'm not even sure have been tried yet. And just mixing Zenflow with honey and being able to trigger the celebration on these colors. And in fact, that kind of makes me wonder, I think the last time we played with Zenflow, we created a loop. Let me see if I can create a loop here. So, might be a little too short for it. Let's see. It's a little short for it. But I have a feeling you might be able to create a loop and then have it continuing to celebrate over and over again. And so I thought that was pretty cool. It's just one example of a game that you can connect here, and it triggers something in the other game. Let's see. So that's Zenflow and Honey interacting together. The thing that I thought I'd try out here with the developer kit is let's try and be purposeful about an interaction or change. And so let's see. Here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and the one that I was thinking about doing, and we'll give it a shot. So I'm going to connect my break out my developer tool. And so I have, you know, my pogo pins, a USB cable, and all right, there we go. Cool. And feel free to ask any questions in the process. So let's see. The one I was thinking about doing is I always thought it'd be cool if in Speed Racer there was a blink that reported how fast the car is going. So I think growing up I had these slot car toys, and on the slot car there was a lap counter, and every time the car would pass through that piece you'd see the lap counter tick up. And so with Speed Racer, let's go ahead and put Speed Racer on a bunch of these, and then I'm gonna write over one of our new ones. So I'm gonna write over reactor and turn that into maybe we can try it as a lap counter, or we can try it as a speed, as like a speedometer. Thanks, Lee. Yeah, I feel like one of the things, so like one of the things that we talked about with blinks from the get-go is like, what kind of Easter eggs can we purposefully put in? What are some of the things that might just emerge? And trying to think. Yeah, I think one of the community set games has a little Easter egg thrown in there. One of the things that's early on, it's like, oh, let's throw a bunch of Easter eggs in. But the limited space of the blinks kind of limits us there, and we wanted to make sure that you didn't have buggy, any bugs in the situation. Okay, so let's see. So if I've got Speed Racer here, this is also kind of an Easter egg. If you tap it real fast, you can send, so if that was a multi-click and I clicked it like, 15 times real quickly, the car will go, launch at a really quick pace. And I think it's even still gaining speed. Once this thing really picks up, it kind of flies around the track. So what we want to know is we want to create a piece that says, how about we make one that like ticks up every time the car passes it. So, and then it just resets. So we'll see it fill up like, from 0 to 6 and then just repeat. So I believe I can share my screen here. So I'm going to open up Arduino. And let's see. Not yet. Okay. So let's see. Scene. I can create one more of these scenes, and I'll get the Arduino window in here as well. It's cool. I think in our last Kickstarter, we expected some people to want to have developer kits, and of course the whole platform is open source. Anybody can open up their, you can grab a core set of blinks, and even the blinks that come in here are rewritable. So I really love that idea that anybody who's a game player can be a game maker. I feel like, I always wished I could remix the things or repurpose the things that I have. So to reprogram this blink, I pop the battery out, and on the bottom side is the programming port. And now that I've got Arduino open, I'm a little distracted. Last night I was discussing Firefly synchronization with Josh, our tech lead. It's very tempting to load that up. Maybe that's for Thursday. So I'm going to first figure out how to get, let's see, so I'm gonna open up from my sketchbook, I'm gonna open up Speed Racer. So I have exactly the code of Speed Racer in front of me. Oh. Okay. Take me just another moment. Also, I don't know if anybody else has been on a ton of Zoom calls and Google Hangouts. I imagine so. Our internet has just reached a new plateau of lagginess. Oh, thanks, Lee. Yeah, I think, you know, even just the number of games on our forum popping up right now, it's like every other day I hear like Dan, our game design lead, he's like, did you see this one? It just came in. This is really cool. So I'm excited to share a lot of the games that are in progress and being shared on our forum. Okay. So Speed Racer is open. Let me see if I can create a new scene. Let's see, I'm going to duplicate this one. I'm going to call this Arduino. Okay. And then I'm going to do a display capture. Okay. So let's try this. Oh, cool. So add one more, which is a window capture, Arduino. Cool. And this seems promising. Okay, cool. So if I bring that to the bottom, all right, cool. So I think this is, yeah, it's pretty good. Right, I'll bring it up to there. Awesome. So this is the source code, and maybe I'll turn this one on and off as we need it. So this is the source code for Speed Racer, and I'll share a little bit of this here. So we have different states for, we call these, I'll point to them here. On the sides, these are sidewalks. The road passes through. A loose blink in Speed Racer looks like this, so it shows the hazard. And then a blink can be in a state where it's either has no car, it has the car, it's ready to receive the car, or it says, oh, the car's been sent, I've received the car. So we do a little handshake every time the car gets passed off from one to the next. Okay. And I believe if I compile this, I'll take a look. I think that this game uses 98% of the space. So in editing this, I'm gonna have to actually remove some stuff, most likely, to get our lap counter to work. So let's start by actually, one of the things that takes up the most space is the display. And so I'm going to remove from here a good deal of our display. So let's see. So if I scroll all the way down in our code here, and one of the neat things about, this might be one of the longer games, but ultimately the games on Blinks are pretty, the code is always under 1,000 lines, and some of the games are within 100. So here's our graphics. And so, So I'm going to go ahead and in graphics, I'm just going to comment all this out. Okay. So if I compile that now, let's see how much space that saved. Cool. So I commented out our graphics, and you can see the amount of space that the program takes up now is 79%. I think it was 98% before. So we've already saved a lot of space. Cool. Okay. So now in here, I want to create a graphic for, let's see, show the number of times the car has passed. And so here, we'll probably have a set color on face, and we'll do if. Let's actually do this. We'll do for I equals 0. That was my live coding moments. Laps counted. And actually, we'll do laps counted. Let's do this. Byte laps counted equals laps counted total mod 6. So this way, every time it ticks up, after it's counted 6, we'll go back down to 0. So I++. Okay. And so we'll set the color on face for every lap counted, and how about we set the color on face to be blue, and which face, and that will be I. Okay. And laps counted total, it's telling me we don't have that yet. So I'm going to go back up to the top, and I'm going to create a variable called byte laps counted total. We're going to start at 0. And let's go ahead and every time the car passes through this, we'll increment it. So we'll want to find the area where we send the car. So let's see, exit face. Send data. Okay. So this is crash loop, road loop car, road loop no car. So we'll want to look in road loop car. And I think what we'll do here is maybe, and we only want this to count up once, so we'll want to make sure, let's see, lose car. That sounds like we'd want to count up here. So this we're gonna, whoops, laps counted total plus plus. Lap counter. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna actually save it as Speed Racer lap counter. Oh, you can't see my save screen, but I just saved it, and you can see the title change to Speed Racer lap counter. So I'm gonna compile that. I'm gonna share how much space that took up. So adding our lap counter moved us from 79% to 80%, so not a lot of space. And I'm not sure if that has everything we need, but we'll find out real quickly. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to switch to this scene so you can see me program here. So I'm going to there were some questions in the forum about how to get the programmer to line up. In just places like that, so those pogo pins just attach. And on this version, you do have to hold it where, for the ones, for the new Kickstarter, the developer blink, it looks like we'll be able to do it so you can be hands-free. And if developers that have the old ones want the new ones, of course we'll make those available and make it easy to get them. Okay, so this says it has uploaded. And note, remember, my graphics here don't do anything unless that lap counter goes up. So I don't have any indication of on. I've got nothing. So yeah, we'll see if see how this works out. So let's go ahead and put this lap counter in the mix. Okay, so we have a loop, and we're going to send a card through, and if this works properly, we'll see the lap counter on the car exit count up 1. Oh! Awesome! I honestly had no idea if that was going to work, and you can see it counted up 2 as the car passed through it. Oh, this is really exciting. Counted up to 3. Ah! Cool. So we actually have a lap counter for Speed Racer now, and it just counted up to 5. And we could change the color of that real easily. On 6, oh, remember I'm looping it, so I guess I could do that a little bit differently so that on 6 it shows all 6 rather than 0, which also would get rid of my the problem of it not displaying anything. So that was, I think, what we commented out the display. We added a display for the total counts of car passes, and then we just needed to find the right time for it to increment for when the car passes. Yeah, cool. Oh, do you know what else is real cool about this? So I'm going to pull this out of here. I'm going to take another one of the Speed Racer blinks, and how about 2 of them? And I'm going to send that program that I just made and reprogrammed, and I'm going to put it on all 3 of these. So now we're going to have 3 lap counters. I'm feeling really, really good about this. Yeah, Josh just said new code never works on the first time. Seriously, a 10-minute late live stream and running code for the first time. Honestly, did not expect that to work that well. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. So here we've got 3 lap counters, and I spaced them evenly. And note that even though we're not displaying roads here, the code is running in the background. Remember, I just commented out the display. So like all of the handoff of the car and all the handling of that, it's still happening. And so as I launch a car here, these pieces still know how to hand off a car, and they still know how to auto-route the road when I double-click. All those things are still in there. I could even double-click one of these, and it would route the car, and I think it would blow up the car. Let's see, double-click. Yeah, so these pieces, even though they're not displaying the same information here, they're running all of the same processes of the Speed Racer blinks. And cool. And then I didn't really create a way to reset these counters, but that might be a nice addition. So I could say, oh, maybe a long press on this piece resets the counter. And maybe I won't do that on this live stream, but if you have a developer kit, maybe that's a cool thing for you to try out, is you can change the counter so that it has a reset in it. Or maybe you could create, I think I mentioned earlier, a speedometer. I'm not sure if we share this on Speed Racer, but I think we do state that the car gets faster, and from every piece it transmits from and to, it accelerates a bit more. And so you can see the car is traveling faster now than it was before. you could put a speedometer in there. Let's see. I'm just going to scroll through the comments. Let's see. Waiting on the next round of dev kits. Super excited. Didn't realize every Blink had a programming port. Yes, totally does. I like the hands-free. Cool. I'm excited about them too. We've only made, I think, 3 prototypes so far that have hands-free, but the specs are going to our manufacturer today. Josh, yes on the game blinks. There's a sticker over it. Yeah, good call, Lee. So actually I should show that as well. So on Flick Flop, underneath Flick Flop, when I pop out the battery, there's a little sticker covering, and you'll notice the sticker matches the game art, so that when you remove that sticker, you're effectively saying, this game no longer knows Flick Flop. Let's see. Nice coding. Thank you. Do developers have access to formatting the IR messages? Oh, good question, Josh. So as a developer, we give you the lowest level of access. However, we also created the API and the hardware type to make it easy for anybody to code for. So if you noticed when you saw the code that I just wrote, you know, I didn't really have to do anything that complex, set color on face. You do have access to send, to flash the IR in any way you want. If you want to have the ability for the Blink to transmit its code to other Blinks, there are some things that, there are some trade-offs there. Essentially, you're running our operating system to allow Blinks to transmit their code to each other. But I think in the forum we also have some examples of using the IR for alternative means. And I don't have a good demo of this yet, but we were playing around with the ability for each face to sense when you touch it. So thinking about games that you hold the sides of the Blinks and use the infrared light to know when a side is being covered or held. I think you could also sense when which side is up based on the amount of light hitting each of the sensors. So yeah, I think there's some fun work to be done there. Cool. Josh says, I've been remiss on joining the forum. Will do so. Awesome. Yeah, definitely hop in there. Even if you're watching and you're just kind of curious what goes on in the forum, there's some really good questions. I posted a really long response to questions around what's the kind of support that developers see, not just from a YouTube streaming and us answering questions, but what's the financial support that Move38 provides to developers that publish games. And so you can read in the forum a nice clear response on exactly the working arrangements we have with games we publish. Everybody who's written a game for Blinks receives the exact same royalty payment for Blinks that ship with their game on it. So by backing the Kickstarter right now, you're not only supporting the Move38 team, but you're supporting the game designers that are making games for Blinks, which feels pretty special. So I think, unless there are a couple of other questions, I know I'm on like a 30-second delay, so I'll wait for 30 seconds. While I'm doing that, feel free to get in any last questions. And if you haven't subscribed to the feed yet, subscribe down below. Make sure you click the bell for notifications, and it'll notify you when you get when a new live stream happens. We're going to continue to do these on Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Thursday, I think we're going to do something a little bit special. We'll see if we can get it all put together. And thanks for even joining a little bit late today. I apologize about the delay. I think we're excited to make sure that everybody's receiving their Blinks, especially through COVID and all of the delays that we've had communicated to us from the carriers and shipping partners. And one more exciting piece of news is it's been a long time coming, but we have some special sushi roll cases for our Kickstarter backers who opted in to wait on the previous orders. So those are in transit at the moment to me, and we'll be hand packing them here. So thanks, Lee, Josh, Jonas, for joining. Mike, thanks for watching me code, and also hopefully I can keep up that streak of first time's a charm. And looking forward to seeing you all on Thursday. Spread the word. We've got, I think, three and a half days left. So Friday's the last day at 6 p.m. Eastern. Get the word out there, and I'm looking forward to, really looking forward to hitting our next stretch goal milestones. I think we are very close, if not unlocking a new color for sushi roll cases. And if we reach $200,000, we're going to make sure that all of the core set, expansion set, and community set Blink sets have colorful, the color-coded sushi roll cases included. So thanks again for joining, and I'll see you on Thursday. End.